This is the tutorial for the simple block exercise. I'm going to start with the rectangle tool. I can select it over here, or I can tap the R key. So I'm going to click and release the left mouse button and then move in the direction I want to go. And I'm going to type the dimensions. The first dimension is along the red axis, and then a comma, and then the second dimension. So I'm going to type 20, comma 10, and then hit enter. Now I'm going to hold the cursor over the geometry there and just roll the mouse wheel forward so I can see better. I'm going to then go to the push-pull tool. It's this icon here, or I could select P. I'm going to click and release the left mouse button and move in the direction I want to go. Then I will type in the distance, which is 11, and type enter. So I'm going to use the orbit tool. I'll tap O to access the orbit tool and just take a look. Everything looks fine so far. Next, I'm going to create this feature over here on the right side. If I look at the dimension, it says that it's 16 inches over from this line. So I'm going to go to the tape measure tool, or I could tap T to do that. I'm going to click on this line, click and release, and move the mouse the direction I want to go. I'm going to type 16 and enter. And then, now that's just a guideline. That's not really geometry. It's just to help me draw other lines or features. So I'm going to go to the line tool now. I can access that by tapping L. And I'm going to click and release there when I see that intersection point, and click and release there. I now have a line that separates these two faces. If I go to the select tool, which is the arrow, I can do that by tapping the space bar. Now I can select that face or that face. When that line was not there, if I had selected this, the whole face would highlight like that. So that's selected. I'm going to once again access the push-pull command. I'm going to click and release and move down, and the drawing says that goes down 5 inches. Now the other feature is this other cutout over here. It says I need a line that is 8 inches from here. I can come over and just type 8 and enter, and then back to the line tool. I'm going to go from that corner. I click and release, come over to here till I hit that intersection, click and release, and I can now use the push-pull tool to bring this down. I'm going to click and release the left mouse button, move the mouse the direction I want to go, and I want to go down to the 8-inch level, which means I'm going to go down 3 inches from 11. So I'm going to type 3 and enter. I can go back to the orbit tool, orbit around a little bit, see that. I'm going to access the eraser by tapping E and get rid of those two guidelines. So I can orbit around, see that everything looks good. I'm going to undo a couple of these things and just show you a little different way to do it. It's going to save some steps here. So let's get rid of all these guys. Okay. So another way to do this, you're always trying to work more efficiently in SketchUp. Instead of using the guidelines, I'm going to select this line. I'm going to access the move command, which is this one. And if I look down at the bottom here, notice it says control is toggle copy. So right now, if I click and release here and start to move this around, it just moves that line. Okay, I'm going to hit escape to get out of the command. But if I tap and release the control key, watch the cursor, you'll see it ends up with a little plus sign on it. So now when I click and release, I'm copying that line as opposed to moving it. So I want to come over 20 minus 16, 4 inches. If I had copied this one over, I wouldn't have to do any math. I'd just copy this one over 16 inches. And then once again, I can push-pull this down 5. So that saved me the step of creating that guideline. On the feature over here, I need to draw a line from here to 8 inches along this line. Well, I can see that this line is 16 inches long, so 8 inches is halfway. So if I access the line tool, click and release there, and come over to here, notice the cursor, it says it's on edge, and there's a green box there. But as I get close to the middle, you'll see it'll change there. Just click to a little kind of blue circle and says midpoint. Now I'm going to click there, and SketchUp will automatically, find the right spot there in the middle. Now I can access push-pull, come down here the 3 inches as before, and once again I've created that without creating those guidelines. That's saved me a few steps. So a couple different ways to do that exercise. I suggest you practice, do it multiple times, couple different ways. The more you do it, the better you'll get, and the more comfortable you'll be in the program.